Jose Gonzalez currently are on there. We're missing 3 from the Cuesta, the Ranchos area, and we had an individual that was representing the Peñasco area for Chair Mascareñas district. She came on as a subcontractor for a short duration, and we never fulfilled that afterwards. So we plan on moving this out to the community. I know some of the commissioners' wishes were to kind of incorporate or work a lot more with the 100% community. We're identifying that, how we can roll that forward for the next fiscal year, and we'll make that presentation to you in the near future for that purpose. Okay.
Quick question.
Commissioner View.
Yes, in regards to the board members, what I recall in the past is that commissioners would basically solicit, go out and ask folks to send in a letter of, of interest. And then at some point, I feel like we got kind of like, that's not what we're going to do anymore. And it feels like we're not getting those positions filled. And I'm not sure exactly why, it's a concern because I think it kind of happened in the planning commission as well, although I think we have a full board, but at some point the commission was taken out of the equation, and a little bit concerned that then we don't get these boards filled.
Right, and I can speak of that, especially you and I have worked diligently on trying to fill the position there in the Ranchos area. There were 2 prime candidates that they did submit the resume, went through the actual process for that, and we interviewed them, X, Y's, and Z's. And at the end of the time, they said, you know what, because of my current situation employment-wise, they didn't feel like they had the time to fill. So that's why in your district, it kind of fell to the side. Just to speak briefly, I know I've touched bases with Vice Chair Romero. We had a young lady out of the Cuesta area that was there for the longest time. She was a great board member for us. Some health issues came up for her in her personal life. She stayed on for the duration, and then she kind of came off, and we just haven't been able to feel anything from Cuesta as well. So that's why I want to come back to you, the commissioners, to see how we can either fill that area, to give that back to the way it was originally formatted, and to see how we can put that onto the community as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time. You guys have a good day.
I think there's a motion that needs to be made here.
Okay, now we'll go on to contracts, agreements, MOUs, and bids. On A, there's a discussion, consideration, and decision regarding the approval of contract number TCC 2025-9, a contract to update the Taos County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Mr. Lucero.
Good morning, Vice Chair, Commissioners. Before you have our professional service contract with Cloetta, we are requesting to get approval on this so we can move forward with the update of our hazard mitigation plan. We have sent this contract to Homeland Security for their review, and everything has met their criteria. The funds have been allocated through a grant that we received through Homeland Security and FEMA. Therefore, we are requesting to get this approved so we can move forward the process, as we are starting to run out of some time to get this complete. It usually takes about 12 to 18 months. So we're going to try to fulfill all the needs within the time frame that's set forth in the contract.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Commissioner.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Lucero, for being here. Also, a side note, thank you for the training last week on active threats. As always, that was excellent training.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a couple of questions about this, just so folks who might be listening or might be curious, what kind of hazards does the hazard mitigation plan encompass?
So our current plan has any of our current risk assessments that we have conducted within the county. We have some for dams, wildfires, avalanches. We have for any natural disaster that may occur, pandemics. We're starting to incorporate a lot of that information in there. One of the things that we experienced while this plan was already in place was the winter squall. So that's one of the big topics that we will discuss and put that on this plan, so it's there as well. So,
okay, so it's
to meet all the needs for any disaster that does occur.
So focus on natural disasters, those
Correct.
kinds of hazards.
Yes,
okay, and if I could just follow up, it mentions in the contract that there will be some back and forth, some workshops and meetings and review by the Taos County Hazard Mitigation Plan Steering Committee. Could you share with us who is on that steering committee?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. So I have created an email group. I have not sent it out because we wanted to make sure the contract is in place. This will have Taos County folks, planning and zoning. We will have folks from the town of Taos, Taos Ski Valley, Cuesta, Red River. We will have folks from Taos Pueblo and Picuris, and some other individuals, stakeholders from the nonprofit communities. So we could have a really solid plan and bring all those minds together so we can make this plan as best possible for our community.
That sounds like a good comprehensive group. I would look forward personally, Mr. Vice Chair, to getting an update once the plan is completed and once you've collected input from those partners and stakeholders. It'd be great to see the finished product and maybe even have a presentation on it. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Move to approve?
I'll second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Vehil, second by Commissioner Brush.
Commissioner Vehil,
Yes.
Commissioner Romero,
Yes.
Commissioner Brush,
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero.
Yes,
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate it.
thank you. Now we'll move on to discussion, consideration, decision regarding the approval of a lodger's tax sponsorship request from the Taos County Sheriff's Posse, acting as a fiscal agent on behalf of Taos Rodeo Queen Emily Cordova. Mr. Good morning.
Good morning, commissioners. Hello.
I didn't see you.
You look surprised to see me, Commissioner.
I didn't see you in there.
Thank you for having me this morning. I'm pleased to present this request for sponsorship through our new Lodgers Tax promotional sponsorship program for Miss Emily Cordova, who is our 2024 Rodeo de Taos Queen. She has started to travel across the region and is humbly requesting to partner with us in basically a co-marketing, co-branding effort to promote Taos County through her efforts as Rodeo Queen. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about this sponsorship request.
Questions? Yeah, I do.
Commissioner Vehil.
Yeah,
Commissioner-
is there a reason that this came to the commission separate from the other lodgers tax recommendations?
Yes, Commissioner Romero, thank you for the question. The sponsorships are separate from the grant program in that they have a separate purpose and a different application process. The maximum amount of funding is $5,000. It can be a range below that, but that is the maximum. Whereas the grant application is more about covering or supporting marketing and promotion efforts within the county for events and programs that attract tourists. This is really a branding opportunity to go out beyond Taos County.
Is this the first time this one has been funded,
Yes.
as far as you know?
Yes,
Okay.
Commissioner.
Commissioner Vehil.
Yes. Well, I think you answered part of my question, but is there a budget that's required from those that are requesting sponsorship? Because we certainly, I would think that we would need to have that in our possession.
We can certainly request a budget. Ms. Cordova is here if she would like to respond to questions about what makes up the $5,000.
Sorry.
We're ringing.
I forgot to turn off my
No
computer.
Yes, Ms. Cordova, if you'd like to answer any questions about how you got to the number of
Yes,
$5,000.
thank
I think
you.
that's the question.
Thank you for being here. And yes, so I have a couple of questions for you. This is new, the sponsorship. So certainly we're all trying to figure out what this is going to look like going forward. And so do you have a budget that would explain the $5,000? Like, how do we get to the 5,000? Because I know we have a maximum of 5,000, but how do you intend to spend the 5,000?
Okay, yeah, perfect. I did anticipate getting questions like this, which is why I made a point to come from across the way because I am scheduled to work to answer questions like this. So my biggest thing was that I wanted to make sure that Taos County was recognized as one of my sponsors. So I was going to get t-shirts made. I wanted to get additional tack to put on my saddle. So that way they know, like the people that see me in the arena know who my biggest sponsor is. And then I wanted to get magnets for the trailer because I can't I can't afford personally to get the Taos County logo painted on the trailer. So to get magnets and then to get all of my shirts that I have embroidered with the Taos County logo or put with the vinyl stuff. And then it was pretty much to also help cover some of the transportation costs, like just staying a couple nights at the hotel since I will be using Taos County as, sponsorship. And then with the Taos County Sheriff's Posse, we don't have a budget at all set up for the Rodeo Queens. I am the first one doing anything like this, even asking for sponsorship. So that's pretty much.
Okay. Question for you.
Oh, yes. And then after I am done with my reign here, I am going to be running for the New Mexico State Fair Queen. And then I would also like to, use the county as a sponsor for that.
Will these funds will carry into that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then if whatever I don't use is going to be directed to the new set of queens, so that way they have a budget, because there was no budget set for any of this. And I would like for my successor to have some sort of help getting them started as well. And then obviously I would talk to them about naming Taos County as one of their sponsors and making sure that they advertise the same way that I do.
Is it on a reimbursement basis, Jessica? Is this how this works? Or we just give 5,000 and?
Commissioner, thank you for the question. The sponsorships are not on a reimbursement basis. What we do to ensure that the funds are being spent properly is ask for proof of advertisement. So we would ask Ms. Cordova to send us all of her mock-ups or advertisements that have been placed in order to then fund that. And this is the same process that we used for Leadership New Mexico.
Okay, and another question, because I know that there's always these requirements of individuals, what they can put on their outfits, so everything that you're planning on doing has been approved and is within the lines of what is acceptable during these?
Commissioner, yes. It's all within the same kind of procurement that we use for the grant programs.
Right, and I was talking more about in regards to, because they fall under the sheriff's posse, right? And so the sheriff posse has also, I'm assuming, bylaws and all these requirements. And so just want to make sure that everything is in line. I know we're very careful on our lodger's tax and how those funds are spent. And so just want to make sure that there's some sort of measure, because being our first, we're going to have others lining up, and I can even see the Fiesta folks coming in, and that's not a bad thing. Honestly, it isn't. Just want to make sure that whatever we're doing, we're setting precedents, and from there we have to.
Sure, Commissioner, thank you. And I appreciate the attention to setting precedent, and I think that's important. And one of the things that we wanted to do with this request is that the sheriff's posse, because they are applying for a grant themselves, this is separate. This is being a fiscal agent, similarly to how we received 2 destination forward grants from tourism, but one of them wasn't really ours through the county. It was on behalf of Penasco Valley Historic Preservation Society. So it's a very similar kind of thing. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Not really, unless there's any more questions that you guys have.
Commissioner Brush.
I have just one thing. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and thank you for being here. I just want to say I appreciate you taking the initiative to set this precedent. I think that it's a really lovely opportunity for the county to be more connected to your role as queen. So I'm glad to see this, and I'm glad to hear the questions about like how it's actually going to run, on paper and all the accountability stuff. But thank you for making this request and like bringing us into your work as queen. So thank you, and good luck out there. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I would just say that it would be nice, and I know, Jessica, you're very good at this and making sure that all the documents are in order, and look forward to seeing how this all plays out, being our first one, and seeing how it gets tracked.
I kind of intended to do the same thing as I am doing with the Sheriff's Posse, because they had sponsored me. I think it was like $150 or something like that, just for my travels back and forth from Santa Fe and Albuquerque. But I have a separate bank account set up, and I take all the statements from that, and then I issue them. Like, this is what I spent the money on and stuff like that. So I can make a separate one, even a savings account that documents all this stuff as
Right.
well.
Thank you.
That said, Mr. Chair, Mr. Acting Chair, I would like to move approval of a lodger's tax sponsorship request from the Taos County Sheriff's Posse to act as fiscal agent on behalf of our Taos rodeo queen, Ms. Cordova.
Second?
We have a motion by Commissioner Brush, second by Commissioner Romero. Call the vote.
Commissioner Vehil,
Yes.
Commissioner Romero,
Yes.
Commissioner Brush.
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero.
Yes. Thank you. Good luck. Now we'll move on to discussion, consideration, and decision regarding the approval of award ITB 2025-02 for the construction of the Holy Cross Medical Center. Ms. Vihil?
Good morning, Vice Chair, Commission. I just want to make you aware that the staff recommendation did change a little as of yesterday. We did have a brief meeting with the Holy Cross Hospital team and the Taos County team in terms of the award. So I'm going to read the revised staff recommendation to you. The Taos County Purchasing Department received 2 responses to our published ITB 2025-02 for the construction of the Holy Cross Medical Center prior to the deadline of 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. This is the first advertisement of this ITB. The offers who responded were Janes Corp. And Bradbury Stam Construction Incorporated. As per NMSA 13-1-106, Janes Corp. Provided a memo of bid withdrawal with evidence which clearly and convincingly demonstrates that a mistake was made. And what actually occurred within that bid packet is that particular company had listed the correct subcontractor, but the incorrect amount. And the incorrect amount was over $300,000. So by doing so, it would have put them over within the bid packet, and they would have been second. And at this time, they recognized their mistake, and based on this statute, they asked to be withdrawn from the bid due to they found their mistake. There was also another mistake. They actually did this before I could actually disqualify them due to the fact that they missed their affidavit for their insurance agent on there. It was not fully filled out or signed. That would have been a complete disqualification. So either way, Janes Corp. Would have been kicked out of the bid. As a result, the withdrawal of the Janes Corp. Bid was approved by written determination per NMSA 13-1-106 by the Chief Procurement Officer. Based on the lowest price for the lump sum base bid and bid alternate, B, which would be for contingency, as well as bid alternate 1 and bid alternate 2, which would be on page 3 of the bid packet that I provided, staff recommends toward ITB 2025-02 for the construction of Holy Cross Medical Center to Bradbury Stam Construction, Inc., respectfully. And the way this is going to work, I know you guys are probably going to want to know the numbers. The base bid itself came out at $14,959,000. The alternate B would be the contingency amount. Due to the tariffs and everything going around, we did add a bid alternate because prices do change as products are being bought. So the alternate B in terms of contingency came in at $149,590. $149,590. And then alternate 1, our bid alternate 1 that was listed on there is for the dump site trash enclosure, which would equal $52,000. And then bid alternate 2 would be material for the plastic laminate. I guess it's in lieu of plastic laminate. I don't know how to say that word. It's phenolenic material. And it's for $72,000. So the total amount before tax, the entire bid would be awarded at $50,232,590. With those bid alternates. In terms of staff recommendation, I do stand for any questions.
I do have a question.
Commissioner Vihil?
Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, could you tell us a little bit more about the contractor that is being recommended?
They've been in business for quite a long time. They're actually out of Albuquerque. I did validate their licensure. Any information that they did provide me, right down to their performance of payment bond insurance company. Everything's on the up and up. They've done numerous construction projects throughout the entire state, mainly in Albuquerque. They've done big buildings, whether it's medical or not. They've done numerous projects. And I mean, it's just astronomical. Between these two companies that did participate, both of them are very reputable in New Mexico to build any type of medical building or any building, even such as the complex that we have today.
Commissioner Vehil?
Yes, just a quick question in regards to the cost per square foot. Do we check into these costs? I'm just curious, like this one says $4.21 a square foot on the I think it says number 1, and then number 2, it's $3.76.
So those particular unit prices are like for the floor leveling portion of it. In terms of that was something that the architect actually put in there to give them a little bit more food for thought for them to put their bid in. It was more for the flooring aspect of it, not per se how much it's going to be per square foot to build that building.
Got it. I see. Thank you.
Commissioner Brush?
Vice Chair Romero, and thank you, Elsa. Just a quick question. I'm wondering if you could repeat the grand total again, 15 million.
So it came out to $15,232,590.
And this might or might not be a question for you. The capital outlay request, was it right at 15 million? You can kind of guess where I'm going with this.
Mr. Hamayo will speak to the rest.
And just to be clear, it's not a capital outlay.
Right.
So it was funding from House Bill 2.
Yeah.
And so it was right at 15 million. The overruns, I shouldn't call them overruns, the excess above the 15 million, we're gonna go and use that from the 7.5 million that was also awarded to the county for a building extension. So we will take the excess above the 15 million towards the 7.5 million. And we don't have that grant agreement yet. That should be coming in January. And that's also House Bill 2.
They were both House Bill 2 this year.
Excuse me?
They were both House Bill 2 in this year's House Bill 2, correct? Or was the 15 million last year?
15 million was from last year.
And the 7.5 that we're going to tap into for this overrun over the 15, that was intended for?
To build an addition to the building. So
Got
the
it.
7.5 was not enough money to build the extension that the hospital would have liked to have built.
Okay, thank you.
And I do want to bring to light as well as we also, as the county, are responsible for all the testing and so forth as that building starts to go up. And that includes density, proctor sieves, structural bolts, concrete, all that fun stuff to make sure the building is sound. So even included with that 7.5, there is going to be another amount, and possibly I'll be coming before you again with the approval for a contract for that company who's going to be doing all the testing while the construction's going on.
Mr. Chairman, what is the projected time of completion for the project?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Romero, we don't have projected time at this point. So if the commission approves the invitation to bid, then we'll go into negotiations with Bradbury, Stam, and then Elsa will bring back a contract for Bradbury, Stam, and then we could set a construction schedule with the Bradbury, Stam, our team, the hospital team, the architectural team. So as of today, there's not a construction schedule because we're not at that point yet.
But within the contract, there should be a projected time of completion, right? So when the contract is completed, there will be a time. Maybe this is for the question for the.
We'll have a good estimate at that point of how long it's going to.
What about penalties if the contract is not completed on time?
There will be penalties. They're called like liquidated damages. And that'll be discussed with the contractor when we're putting the AIA contract together. In terms of the timeframe and so forth, there'll be, once a notice proceed and a notice or notice of award and a notice of proceed is given to them, once they get that notice proceed, the clock starts ticking. They do get a certain amount of time where we have to get it done within so many either working days or calendar days of it to get done. But the commission also has to understand we have inclement weather. Sometimes there's hiccups where we can't get the product in on time, and it does push back that timeline. And when that time does come, amendments will probably made for time extensions and so forth. So I think that's what Brent was trying to say is we're trying to put a deadline in there, but sometimes with construction, there's always that hiccup or a change order or something that does occur during the process that may or may not slow it down. I mean, honestly, we were thinking 12 months, and when we did do our pre-bid conference, a lot of these contractors were kind of leery about that, saying it might take a little more than 12 months, only because it's such a large building and there's a lot of components that they do have to work on to make sure everything works perfectly in there before they walk away with our punch list. So
This project is
it
going
is
to
gonna
take
take
an
time.
immense amount of collaboration between the county and the hospital. They're going to
Yes.
become really true partners, and it's twice as big as say, for example, the historic courthouse on the plaza.
Yes.
And so I think that the county should consider maybe hiring an additional staff member in the finance department or somewhere to help coordinate this effort, because it's going to be massive.
It is something that we could consider. The hospital does have a contract with the project manager. It's something that we need to sit down with the hospital and see if we're going to use their project manager, or we would bring somebody else in to it.
And Mr. Chair, thank
Commissioner
you.
Bruce.
Thank you. To that end, because I agree with Commissioner Romero that we can't just like put this, even if it's just like, weekly check-ins or whatever, we can't keep overloading our existing staff who have existing jobs with an extra very large project. I'm going to go back to the HB2 money. Can that 7.5 million, can any of that money, was any of it earmarked for actual management administration of the project?
In the broad sense, it was.
Okay.
I can read the language from the bill. So we would, if we hire a project manager, it would come off the 7.5.
That's all I wanted to know.
That's
Thank you.
something that we've not talked to the hospital on. So
'Cause, I mean, I'm sure they're in kind of a similar position, right? Like a capacity question. And we so often run into situations where we get money for projects, but not money for the people to actually implement and manage the projects.
so on the 7.5, all it says in the House Bill 2 is for a primary care building in Taos County. So it was intentionally left broad. Mr. Kaiser's here, and if you need, he'd be happy to speak to why the language was left that way, but it's said it's left broad, and then so anything else we would have to take off the 7.5.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just wanted
Yes,
to,
sir.
if I may, just bring us back to what's on the agenda today. And what's on the agenda today is to award this bid to Bradbury, is it Bradbury Stamp? To Bradbury Stamp. And the ancillary issues, we're going a little afield.
With that being said, I'd like to make a motion to approve the award ITB 2025-02 for the construction of Holy Cross Medical Center.
Motion by Commissioner Vehil, second by Commissioner Romero. Have a vote?
Commissioner Vehil?
Yes.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Brush?
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero?
Yes. Thank you. Also, ready for another one. Discussion, consideration, and decision regarding the approval of purchase of renewal of Granius short-term rental portal for the planning department, and the total amount of purchase is $72,828.79, utilizing Omnia Cooperative Agreement. The funds for this purchase will be through the lodger's tax non-promotional budget. Ms. Vihil?
Good morning, Vice Chairman, Commission. Before you, based on our procurement policy, of course, anything over $60,000 must need commission approval. And this is for the renewal for the portal platform that we use for the short-term rental that Andy uses in the planning department. I had him review this updated proposal and this quote because there was a portion in there or a module in there that entailed in terms of us, collecting tax, which we're not there yet. And so we actually brought the cost a little bit down from what it was from the previous year, I think by at least a couple thousand. So right now we're just asking approval to renew this, to continue this for another year. The term itself starts on 5/17 to 5/16. I kind of questioned it with the company, but they did show history that last year when we started this portal or this type of program or this module, it was in the middle of May last year. So this is for the renewal for another year. So I'm just asking approval to push this purchase through since it is over the $60,000 threshold.
Chair, if I may. Yes, so just confirmation. I think what I heard you say is that there's only one little change as far as what they're going to, what their services will give us.
Yes.
We're going to get the same.
We're still going to get the same info. There was just a portion in there, a module that had I guess, according to Andy, that it had it there in there for us to basically calculate and collect the tax portion of it. And he's like, Taos County's not there yet. And that's part of the module he really didn't need right now. It can be added later, but right now we had it deducted from the actual module at the moment, so we don't have to pay for something we're not using.
Okay. And once again, that would be them collecting the tax in the future once that module.
It's that portion. And right now we're not there yet.
Okay. So we collect it on this end is basically it's happening here.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Are you referring to a tax or the fee?
Well, it's a portion of the website where people go and pay through it. We don't have that capacity right now.
Okay, so it's the application fee.
Yeah.
I just want to be careful that we're not talking about a new tax.
Well, no, it involves actual tax, not the application fee.
Okay, so we're talking about the lodger's tax that is
Yeah,
collected
this was just for him, for where we gather all the data for the short-term rental and where he can show you where everything's at. Yes. Okay. It's separate from the other program that they have in planning. They have a separate one there.
Do we have motion for this?
Mr. Vice Chair, I would like to move approval of the purchase or renewal of the Granicus short-term rental portal for our planning department in the total amount of $72,828.79.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Brush, a second by Commissioner Vihil. If you have a vote.
Commissioner Vihil?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Brush?
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero?
Now we'll move on to E, discussion, consideration, and decision regarding the approval of award of our RFP 2025-04 for professional legal services for Taos County. Ms. Vihil.
Good morning, Chairman, Commission. Before you is the staff recommendation. The Taos County Purchasing Department received one response to our published RFP 2025-04 for professional legal services for Taos County prior to the deadline of 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Wednesday, April 16, 2025. The offeror who responded was New Mexico Local Government Law, LLC, or NMLGL, as we all know them. Based on the review conducted for this RFP, staff recommends an award for RFP 2025-04 for professional legal services for Taos County to New Mexico Local Government Law, LLC, subject to negotiations of a mutual agreeable contract respectfully. And I stand for any questions.
Any questions?
I guess I do have a question. I'm sorry if I missed it, but is there an increase on this?
I
Amount?
am not aware of that. I think that'll come forth once we bring the contract
Got
to
it.
you guys for approval. I'm not aware of the dollar amount just yet as to what this contract will be. So we'll
So,
have to negotiate still.
okay, so when we do an RFP like this, we don't ever have a target amount?
What we do is we ask for a cost summary that's not part of the evaluation. That part, in terms of fees or anything, will be negotiated after the award.
Okay, so-
Negotiation
which is
happens
standard.
after the award,
Right.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. With that being said, I'll make a motion to approve. And that would be RFP 2025-04 for professional legal services for Taos County.
We have a motion by Commissioner Vehil, second by Commissioner Brush. Call for vote.
Commissioner Vehil,
Yes?
Commissioner Romero,
Yes.
Commissioner Brush,
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Now we'll move to department matters. Review, approve, and/or adjust funding recommendations for the Taos County Lodgers Tax Advisory Board. Mr.
Good morning again.
Morning.
I'm happy to present the 30 recommendations for funding for our first round of FY26 Lodgers Tax grants. We received 32 applications. There are 30 recommendations totaling $409,085. And I'm happy to stand for any questions about any of the applications.
Give me 1 second here. I do have a question, Chair, if I may.
Commissioner Vehil.
And not specific to anyone, but I did notice that the monetary request is not often what we grant. And so can you just remind us and those that are listening and present how and why that might be the case?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner, for the question. We bring in all of the applications and vet them internally for eligibility, and then they go before the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board. The advisory board has about 3 weeks to read through all of the applications and score them. All 5 present their own scores unless they have a conflict of interest, which then they declare. And those scores are out of 100 points. And so there's a scoring rubric within the guidelines that we have that is available to anyone to read. And then we take the average of those 5 scores. And so based on the guidelines that we passed, if an average score is over 90%, then what the advisory board decided was that a grantee would get 100% of their funding. If the score is between 31 and 89%, then that percentage is applied to the funding request, and then that is the award amount. If a score is below 30%, then they're not recommended for funding. So most of what you see here are those percentages applied to their funding request. The average score was 72% this time, which is actually pretty similar to what the average was in the last 2 rounds.
Okay, and I think it's important for folks to know out there, and you correct me if I'm saying this wrong, but anyone who needs assistance can, in fact, reach out to you. And, we just want to make sure folks know that anyone who's coming forward has the same opportunity. And so I hope they do. They use your services.
Yes, Commissioner, I wholeheartedly invite anyone to come speak with me. And once we have our Lodgers Tax Coordinator, then I will be working with that person to provide those opportunities. And one of the things I know I've mentioned that I'm really excited about is to create training opportunities for us to go out into the community and have meetings where we can invite prospective applicants to talk with that person about how they can strengthen their application.
I look forward to that. That's great. Thank you.
I know they put in a lot of work into it as well. And the whole purpose is to bring folks from outside the county to the county to attend these events. So we're really asking the applicants to work hard, bringing outside individuals to come and go to the events. So.
Mr. Vice Chair?
Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Brent, for adding that. I mean, because that is not our purpose, right? Like that is in state statute that this money has to be spent on events that bring in people or that serve people. It's not our choice, but so I just wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you for pointing that out. But Jessica, I just wanted to also say thank you for including, and I'm assuming that these narratives are from the applicants themselves. I found it really useful to look through and see what specifically they were asking for, because we may or may not be familiar with the entity or organization applying, but this really painted a good picture of what people are doing and how they're actually proposing to follow state statute and bring people into our community. So thank you for presenting it this way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do have a follow-up. And I did read through these, and maybe I'm just not remembering, but I didn't always see how they were going to market. I mean, do you, I'm assuming, there's an assumption, correct me if I'm wrong, but you in fact track all that, how they're marketing? Because, for example, I'm looking just because it just happens to be the one that's right in front of my face here, bonfires. I don't know how you would market that outside of Taos.
Sure, Commissioner, thank you. We look, and thank you, Commissioner Brush, for the comment. Part of what we wanted to do with these guidelines and this program was house it in the values and guiding principles of the Destination Stewardship Plan. And so that work really looks for reciprocity. It looks for creating a local environment for locals that attracts visitors. And the way that we look for a balance in these grants is that some of them may be more strong towards the local community, and then we request that they also market outside of the county. So bonfires is a great example. I think the Rio Fernando Park celebration is a great example. These are really events that are for the local community to make a great place to live and play and work. We ask them that in their marketing budget, they show us how they are going to market outside of the county. And then of course, this is a reimbursement grant. And so we can actually track and see all of those marketing channels that are not here within Taos.
And thank you for explaining that, because although we know there's statutes we have to follow, I often think that, we forget that it's the locals that we want also to be a big part and actually bring in those other folks. So
Right.
Instead of the other way around.
Exactly.
Thank you.
This program is really looking for that balance. And that's also part of the training. Folks who are really heavily marketing inside of Taos to the local community, we want to teach them what an outside audience might be interested in and how to access those marketing channels. Folks who are really good at marketing nationally may not be necessarily tapping into a local audience here. So it's a both and, but we look for that balance across the board.
Ms. Stern, I had just one question. Your Lodgers Tax Advisory Board, who consists on that? How many people?
Commissioner, there are 5 individuals. By statute, they are appointed by the commission. 2 of them, 3 of them need to be owning or operating lodging establishments. 1 needs to be working in the tourism industry, and then 1 is a general resident of the county.
All right. So if somebody has contacted us, they want to get in there, how do they contact you? Contact Brent? Who do they contact?
Great question. We do have an open seat right now, so we're going through this process.
Yeah, we like Jessica mentioned, we did have a board member just come off, so we're gonna start soliciting. And one of the things that Ms. Stern brought up is there's no representation from the northern part of the county. So we're gonna try to get somebody from the northern part of the county that meets that lodging establishment component of that, and it's into tourism. So we have a couple of ideas, and I did outreach to one organization already unofficially. I outreached to them to see if we could get, if they would be interested in representing the northern part of the county on the board.
I have a follow-up since you mentioned something you reminded me. Are there term limits on that? I mean, do they?
Commissioner, yes, that is one thing that the advisory board just decided on, maybe in January, is that they would like to have 2-year term limits that are renewable twice. So a total of potential 4 years of service.
Right. And just to comment, Jessica, I know you have told us all this once upon a time, but it's hard to remember all this. So forgive us because I know you've stood here and said all this. But thank you for the reminder.
Happy to answer any questions all the time.
Any more questions?
With that being said, I'll make a motion to approve. And I believe, let's see here, it is an RFP. No, it's just the Taos County Lodgers Tax Advisory Board's recommendations.
I'll second.
A motion by Commissioner Vehil, second by Commissioner Brush. Call for vote.
Commissioner Vehil,
Yes.
Commissioner Romero,
I would like to disclose that I do serve on the board of one of these organizations that is receiving the funding. I would not benefit personally from this organization receiving the funding, so I will go ahead and vote yes.
Commissioner Brush,
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero.
Yes.
Commissioners.
Now we'll go on to B. It's going to be discussion, consideration, and decision regarding the approval of reclassification request to reclassify the position of receptionist to assessment specialist to Ms. Ramirez.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chair and Commissioners. We are here today to present and request that our receptionist position be reclassified to an assessment specialist 2 position. We have found that the receptionist position is difficult to fill, and it's also very limited in the scope of its duties. So that's why we're requesting it be reclassified over to an assessment specialist 2 position. If you guys have any questions, we stand for questions as well.
I have a question, and that's for Mr. Jaramillo. Now that you're up there, Christina, I want to commend you. I have to give you 100% that you're always at these meetings. Everything that comes up, you're here representing, plus your people that are with you. Question is, it's going through the assessor's office. Where's the county assessor? She hasn't been to any of our meetings, and 2 months ago, she was one of the ones wanting that raise that came up. Why can't she be here to speak for her people?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I cannot answer for Ms. Demas as to why she's not present today or at the last meeting where the assessor's office did present to the commission. So I can't answer for her, sir.
I certainly have looked this over, and it's very clear that our HR person, Gina, has no problem with this. But I totally understand where you're coming from. I think that it's really hard when we don't have an elected asking for changes within their department as such. And so I think with that being said, I would recommend we table until we get her in front of us. Once again, we thank you all. We know you're holding the fort, and we appreciate your time and your efforts. But it's, what our chair has said is a fair question, and the community expects elected leaders to justify and answer the questions. And I think we're just missing that individual here. And so if you would take that back, and Brent, I suppose you will reach out to her and so we can ask those questions of her.
Motion to table has been made by Commissioner Vehil. I'll second it. Call to vote.
Commissioner Vehil,
Yes.
Commissioner Romero. Yes. Commissioner Brush,
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the county manager's reports and matters. Update to county commission on various items affecting Taos County. Mr. Jaramillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be brief, but I'm also going to ask Jason to come up and talk about the 2 road projects that we have going on, and then also our vacancy rate is now 16%. We have 44 open positions, and that's out of 272 positions here at the county. And on next Thursday, June 12th, we are having the fourth and final part of the series of the Wildland Fire Series. That's at 5:30. We're still working on finalizing the panel, but this will be regarding how title companies and insurance companies are having a hard time insuring properties that are in the wildland urban interface. So that's June 12th at 5:30. We will be getting out the information on this shortly once we confirm all the panel members. As I indicated to the commission previously, the interim budget was submitted ahead of the deadline. The deadline was actually on Sunday, but we got it in on Friday. I want to thank Emily Rawlson Elliott and Wendy Harris for all their work. I'd also like to thank the Treasurer Santisteban as well as helping in the support of the budget and helping Emily through the process. And then if I could have Jason come up and talk a little bit about the roads.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everyone doing today? We have two road projects on currently happening, and that's in progress. The Blueberry Hill project, which is the completion of the I'm thinking of the amount, but it's essentially 5 miles of road that still needs to be completed, and this is the second and will be the last phase of the project. Currently, they're milling both lanes, one lane at a time. There's a traffic control of a flagger operation, and they're flagging and they're milling it about 1,000 feet at a time. Then they switch lanes and mill the other one. They'll shape the road and then they pave it. So we've already had two times that they paved, 2 days that they paved, and they're paving just the initial mat. So the initial mat, the total depth of the full depth of reclamation of this project is 5 inches is what it's going to be paved at. So once they reclaim it, they pave it, it's a 2.5 inch mat, and then they'll finalize that at the end of the project. Once all of that first mat's completed, then they'll come in to complete both of them. So then they'll have a mirrored seam that would be, seamless, and the opportunity for that would be where it eliminates the opportunity for any cracks to form, because that last mat will be met at that point. So that's that project that's good in the process of being completed. We had an interesting question last week from the Second Association if they could run a culvert in that area so it would transition across the road. And this is the perfect timing, because once this happens, we're going to put a 2-year moratorium on this roadway that no street cuts and no excavation will be performed on this one. So it was great opportunity that we were able to work with them. We did ask that question earlier in the year. They denied it, but then I guess they thought about it and they went forward to it. So now they'll be able to transition and replace a culvert that will feed off of Lower Los Colonias. So that project is anticipated to be a 6-week project, pending weather like we had yesterday. If we have any monsoon that will be coming, we're projected to have an 8-week project is what we're hoping, but we should finish it within 6 weeks. So that project's underway. Then we have the Leo Valencia State Road 150. That's a slope stabilization project. Currently, we have traffic controls out there. We have some message boards. So if you see the community, we're trying to alert all motorists of trying to stay away from the area, seek alternate routes, but we are just trying to make sure that we mitigate any delays, but at least we know what we're trying to achieve in that one. And that one is going to be, it's only about maybe 800 feet of curb and gutter and asphalt of Leo Valencia Road for the first portion of that road. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to direct all the water off of Kai Martinez, and I'm trying to remember the other road right now. It's skipping my mind. But what happens is a lot of the water and stormwater, when it rains, comes down, just comes off the edge of the mountain, erodes the stabilization, the slope off of 150, and then you have all these rocks that are ending up on New Mexico DOT side. So that project will have curb and gutter throughout the project, drop inlet that's going to redirect the water with some piping coming down, and then it has a valley gutter that will wrap around the bottom onto New Mexico 150. And then there'll be netting similar to what you see in Taos Canyon, where we're going to anchor about 16-foot anchors into the soil, and they'll be grouted in concrete. And then this netting will end up flowing over the slope. At that point, we'll have Jersey barriers on the bottom, so New Mexico DOT could have routine maintenance to clean out that area as needed. So those are the two major road projects that we have in there. We did, in the meeting now, which is great, we did get an extension for Rio Chiquito Bridge in Peñasco. That one was set to expire this year, but that was due to the fact that the expiration was the Environmental Bureau had yet to provide essential clearances for us to complete the design. So, but that they have followed through with that, and we're good to go that will be going out to bid within the next 2 weeks. And that will be another project that's going to be off there. We have just seeking at any other road project at this point would be La Morada. Transfer funds has happened. I think the legal team is just working on trying to facilitate with Alex Abeta what was that easement that we talked about yesterday?
Not the claim of exemption.
Yeah, it's the opportunity, since we're getting these properties and we're collecting them from the additional property owners, there'll be a claim of exemption that we have to complete, even though we're not subdividing the property, but we're going to be utilizing it. There would be a 5-year restrictions for those people to do anything with their property. So we're going to have a claim exemption that would be placed on us. Once that is facilitated through our planning department, then that project will go out to bid. So there's just the finalization of last minute legalities. So that one's that project. And I think that's it. I stand for,
The parking lot project for Llano Quemado.
Oh,
We're
yes.
gonna have a pre-construction meeting next week. We did get everything we need, also did get everything she needed from Mr. Abeta to put that out to bid.
That's great.
And we will have a pre-construction meeting with potential contractors next week.
Staff, for any questions?
Well, I don't know who this question is for, but thank you for those updates. I appreciate that. But now that you said the Llano Quemado, there's some requests being made, and I'm just kind of wondering, and maybe as I look at Patrick, maybe this isn't the right time to ask the question. But anyways, who do I need to pass this on to in regards to, for example, what's the term, puntales? They need to be, I guess, sealed. They're really, really dry. There's some things, maintenance that needs to happen to the building.
Private facilities.
So I just don't, I mean, it's passed on to me. I definitely want to pass it on to the right person. So.
No, Mr. Mondragon contacted
Oh,
Mr. Madrid on this, and it will just get put into the maintenance schedule that facilities already has to do the work. So whenever it comes up on their timeline, it'll come up. I know right now the facilities is in Peñasco cutting the weeds at that community center.
okay. So the request has been made. I didn't know that. The other thing is, what about the replacement of a stove or refrigerator that's going bad? How do we handle that? Is that going to be an ICIP? Is it something that?
I'm not aware of a refrigerator
Yeah.
going bad. or
And
a
we can
stove.
talk more offline, but just so you know, those are the requests that I'm receiving. And I don't know if we have a mechanism in place. These folks usually go out for their own capital outlay to replace these items. And I think Anissa, correct me if I'm wrong, I understand you might know a little bit about this. And if of the Llano Quemado replacement, oh, it was maybe not you, it was someone else. My apologies. But anyways, just wondering how to handle that. And since we've got you both here, my apologies, Anissa. It was a request to replace the stove or refrigerator at the Llano Quemado. That's not you. The request
It
was
might
made.
be something that they might have to handle on their own. on
Okay,
the board
that's fine.
side.
Okay, so capital outlay would be their way.
Well, they should have the funding to buy a stove or refrigerator. 'Cause
Okay.
remember, the intention of the capital outlay is to fund anything over $50,000.
Okay, got it, okay.
And
Okay, I'll pass that on. And are you done with the updates, or we're just doing roads? Because I want to ask about the detox.
that's on the Richards.
Okay, got it, okay.
Uh,
Richard, I see you now.
Mr. Chair, if I may
Commissioner.
ask some, or sticking with roads for a second, back to Blueberry Hill. Thank you for working with the Acequia to like coordinate work there. Appreciate that. I also appreciate the messaging boards, letting the community know what's going on before they get into it. I ignored them yesterday and drove it because I was curious to see what was going on. The progress is pretty impressive. Like there's a lot happening on that road as of yesterday. Yeah. So thank you for managing all of that. It's exciting to see the project. Wanted to ask, because I know we've talked about this before, like the aprons that will connect the new surface of Blueberry to the various private roads that come off of it. Because I know we've talked about that yet, but I still am hearing questions, and I want to make sure I'm answering them the right way. Because people have concerns about, runoff, about like where the road right where it meets Blueberry is already kind of crumbling. There are concerns that because the private road is dirt and they're trying to like pull quickly into like the speed of Blueberry, that they, depending on how people pull out, they kind of like create holes on the private road. Could you just describe for us and anyone listening, for me, that project of like those connector points will be, those aprons?
I believe there's, within the scope of work in the current contract, there's 39 roads that are going to have an apron that's going to be, I think it's 10 or 15 foot apron, pending the width of the road that's there, whether it's a private drive or a county maintained roadway. Each of those roads will have an apron that will tie back into that edge. So even though that they're saying that maybe the edge is crumbling, it's going to be, there'll be a sock cut. We'll have a blunt edge, and then we'll tie it and marriage it right to there, so that asphalt membrane will be tied back into it. But yeah, each road that has that connects to Blueberry Hill will have an apron on there. So, and then to answer their concerns, it will happen, but this is the last part of
Right.
of the project, with we'll be striping at the same time, and then the signage.
Thank
So,
you. It
yeah,
makes
so-
sense that it's the end of the project. And I just want to say, I appreciate that being taken into consideration from the beginning with this project, because we don't always do that, right? We just like, okay, we have to resurface this road, repave this road, and boom, done. But there's so much traffic on that, and so much of it's coming in and out of this private road. So I'm really glad that this is part of it. And I'll just like encourage people to be patient and see what the finished product is going to be.
And you will probably start receiving calls from constituents, because I fill them daily, of individuals wanting to know why we're not creating bike lanes on this roadway. And so if you do, just let them know. I like letting the constituent base know on my end is we're restricted to the easements that we're working with and the Acequia that's there. So there's not an ability at this time for us to create bike lanes. Although down the road, there could be an opportunity of the TAP grants or, utility trail projects that if we follow Kit Carson's overhead utility line, that would give us the ability to go after and create a trail on that side of it. But, that's something that we'd have to go back and fulfill, go after a grant to see if we can fulfill a project like that. So just to I know you're going to probably receive those. We went through this whole process, but there's more to it. If we would purchase each easement to try to widen the road to create bike lanes, we'll never complete the project. Because I would say that's probably going to be another 12 million based off of what the initial estimates would be of this project. And this road was in such dire need due to the fact that this construction that was completed over the last 4 years, we had all our freight traffic moved onto that roadway, and we're barely getting by with what transpired. So it wasn't designed originally for that freight traffic. That was only a 3-inch mat. Like I say, right now we have it as a 5-inch mat.
And thank
So-
you, Mr. Chair and Jason. Thank you for mentioning the bike lanes because those questions have come up, not just this week or last week, but for a while. And while I personally would love to see a lot more bike lanes in a lot more places, the fact is like some of our roads just aren't in places where that is easily or at all accomplished. So
Yeah,
I appreciate
it's-
your input on that. And maybe down the line, we can figure out how to acquire all those private easements.
Yeah, it's not that we don't want to place it in there. It's just that we don't have the financial capacity to move forward with it. And like I say, I'm reviewing other alternatives that, could make up that shortfall and try to see if we can start creating some routes that for more human power traffic in our community. So we're working on those.
Quick question.
Any other questions?
You mentioned moratorium so that we don't start digging up that road.
Yes.
What's that time limit?
Normally, in most of the counties, the resolution, I'd have to go back to what's been established, but we have a 2-year moratorium on any road that's been paved or chip sealed, that there'll be a 2-year moratorium that you can't dig up that road. And normally, right now, New Mexico Gas has a pipeline that is on one side, and that would happen 2 weeks ago where they replaced an issue of concern. So they were able to mitigate that issue and repair it prior to ourselves getting to that point. So that was great that we were able to schedule that, and it moved the delay because we were going to start a couple of weeks sooner. But and I can't see this happening at all. I know that at one point, John Painter has reached out to me from Power Water and Sanitation, wanting to run water lines down there. That's going to be a while. I think he still needs to secure his funding anyway, but we'd have to identify a good legal easement for him to utilize so he doesn't go through that road. So
Thank you.
last thing is we had a couple of road projects that we're trying to complete that I'm waiting on the culverts and Contech to design for structural purposes to make sure that they're adequate to cover any first responder traffic. And there's one in Red River that we're currently working on. That's the one that Vice Chair Romero that we spoke about. So right now it's on the hands of Contech engineers to design this culvert to make sure that it's adequate to hold any first responders or water or tanker trucks if there's a fire in that area. So just to give you an update on that as well.
Yes, sir.
I stand for any other questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Madrid is going to give us a quick update on the Rio Costilla project.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. We're a few months away, finally, after several years, to a positive result. We hope. A little background, it's actually a mini case study. We had $1.4 million to fix our building in Amalia. We did some testing with the ground. Engineers told us that we're likely to just throw that money away if we try to fix it, and then it's still not going to work. So then we found a great location in Costilla. Potentially, we can have the best rural community center in all of New Mexico. But we have to move that grant from the location in Amalia to this location. And the state said, you can move it, but you have to own it. You can't do a long-term lease. And the school didn't want to transfer the property. So we spent a lot of time with the attorneys trying to argue our point and say, we should be able to do it with a long-term lease. We lost that battle, but then they changed administrations. And the administration says, oh, you can use a long-term lease, but you just can't move this money. So they flipped it on us. And then we had a lot more of back and forth paperwork. But at the end of the day, we're working with some good folks at Long-Term and Aging. They ran it up the pole with their council. And they finally made a determination just a few months ago that we can use a long-term lease and we can move the funds. We can do both. Now we have to help Cuesta Independent Schools get through State Board of Finance. We're trying to get the package done here in a couple of weeks to get on the July agenda. If we get that approved, we got a long-term lease, and then the $1.4 million grant can be issued to us. And we have an additional $170,000 for that property. So we have a building with wonderful bones. It's in good condition, And when we bring these funds in and do the fixes we need to do to the HVAC system, the parking lot, make the conversion from a building that accommodates little kids to a building that accommodates our seniors, we're going to have probably the best senior center in all of New Mexico, competitively with any other place. And then with the rooms that the seniors aren't going to use, we went up, met with the community, had a community meeting. They want to program those other rooms for community center type of activities. So it's a good partnership. We're finally getting there. Cross our fingers. Stand for any questions.
Commissioner Vehil?
Sounds really good. I'm just curious what happens to the existing building, the one that does still stand that we're not able to use?
Commissioner Vehil, that building needs to come down.
Okay.
It just can't be brought back to life. It's
Right.
a hazard. We're talking with the chief, Mr. Cordova, and there might be some training that we can use that facility for. And then at a certain point, we need to bring the building down.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I stand for any questions.
All right, we'll move on to the Historic County Courthouse update. Mr. Sanchez?
Vice Chair Romero, good to be here. Commissioners, Historic Courthouse, moving forward slowly. As I did mention in the paper, we are going to be short some funds. Not anybody's fault, not the architects. There's quite significant hidden damages from years of neglect or deferred maintenance, I should say, not neglect. Things are moving well. Elevator shaft, like I said, is in place. Three-phase power is in place. Framing for all the different room alterations, bathrooms, the floor framing for the bathrooms, downstairs for the public restrooms. The plumbing is in place and was inspected, and so they're continuing with the floor framing in the lower bathrooms. The second-story bathrooms are already completely framed. Our IT contractor has met with our general contractor with the needs that have been requested by our grants people, our historical people. We're going to have some interactive screens for the public in the hallway, menus of who's in the building, what's available in the building, quite a bit of interactive and educational electronics in the building. The new staircase to the basement has been dug, and so that'll get as part of the framing of the in the bathroom, new bathroom area. I'm going to say we're probably 90% demolition complete. Electricians have been cutting holes in the walls for computers, for electrical. Everything will be up to date. Drop ceilings, not this style of drop ceiling, a hard drop ceiling, so it'll look just like it did before, but it gives us a chance to run ducting for the heating, air conditioning, exhaust fans. The roof is just about ready to be reopened over the courthouse to start fire suppression, electronics, electrical, so that we don't do any damage to the vigas or minimal damage to the ceiling. Everything's going to be done from the top down because we got to put a new roof, and the insulation will be on top of the new roof, similar to the construction here. Overall, it's going along real well. Like I said, the biggest heartbreak and setback was that southeast corner that was damaged extremely bad. We've had handmade adobes, not machine made with asphaltium like the new ones. So it'll be traditional adobe construction back in those areas. We're going to start, even though the weather's changing, we're going to start tearing out the old windows and putting in new windows, getting them ready for new windows. And so the project is moving forward. Like I said, we are going to be a little bit short, but we'll work on it and move things around and see what we can do. It's going to be a great building once it's done. A real asset to the community in the plaza.
Yeah, Richard, that was a real positive article that came out in the Taos News a couple of weeks ago. And so with your report too, it looks like we are making progress and that we turned the corner, maybe even on the final run home. But I would just like to emphasize that I think it is the duty and responsibility of the staff, the management, and commission to press contractors to complete projects on time, under budget, and just want to emphasize that it not just with the courthouse, but all projects that. I mean, they'll move along at their pace, but they sometimes need a little bit of encouragement to move it along.
That's understandable, Commissioner. The courthouse is a little bit different from a new construction
It is.
project because basically we're not just repairing stuff, we're tearing stuff completely out and bringing it back to its original venue and then making quite a few improvements. Starting from the ground up is so much nicer and easier. Being a general contractor, I hated remodels, to be totally honest with you. I was involved with a couple historic remodels, and they all have a tendency to have issues just because people don't know what's there. I feel confident that we will be done with the funding and the bulk of the project by spring. Like I said, things are moving rapidly forward now that we got our final funding and that we're out of a little 12 by 30-foot alleyway. We're in every part of the building now. And so I feel good about it. It's going to be good. It's a good project.
Thank you, Richard.
Quick question in regards to, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
You can.
And thank you, Richard. Thanks, Darren. Just real quick. I might not be remembering all of the updates we've gotten over the months, but I thought that the funding we had already secured was sufficient as far as we knew to complete the project. But this morning I'm hearing you say, and it might be the first time I'm hearing it, that there might not be enough.
Commissioner Brush, we believe that the funding was enough until we opened up that corner. There was no expectation of having to do $500,000 to $600,000 worth of repair work to the structure itself. We knew it had to be re-roofed. That was in the budget. We knew there was going to be insulation. That was in the budget. We knew we were going to do some repairs in a couple areas around windows and whatnot. When plaster came off of that corner and there's no wall there, that's a really big issue. Like I said, the supporting structure, just the scaffolding alone for the time frame required is $120,000. That's just to keep it from falling down. That doesn't mean taking it apart and putting it back together, because basically that corner will come apart to about just past the window that's there, and then will have to be rebuilt. On the east side, it'll also come apart on the south side, on the plaza, to be able to tie the corner together well. It's just not that corner either. Behind the mud plaster on the southwest corner has adobe damage that'll have to be repaired. So both corners facing the plaza are basically structurally gone.
Okay.
The scaffolding is holding up the building.
Thank you for the explanation.
And so that's where we had a contingency for, okay, we have rotten floor joists, or we have this, or we have that. I believe, I'd have to look at it, but it was in the
And by no means take my question as accusatory. I'm just curious, because those kind of updates are so important for us all to hear, right? That this is what's going on, and here's what we should all as a county team be prepared for and aware of. So thank you.
So Richard, I would just say, because my husband does construction, what you're saying, I hear all the time about remodels versus construction right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And he himself will say, I will never give a deadline a date
Yeah.
when you're doing a remodel because you don't know what you're going to come up against. So it makes total sense. My question though is what do you estimate and guesstimate at this time that shortage might be? Because I know there could be other things that,
With what we're looking at, like I said, it was tight even the way it was, but I'm going to say somewhere between 400,000 and $1 million, to be totally honest with you. The only other thing with everything that we've taken apart now we've taken out the temporary fencing and stuff on the east alley. We've taken out all the different kinds of construction and seen the alterations that they've done on the east side. The only other place that really concerns me a little bit, and we haven't had a chance to explore it, is also the northeast corner along Teresina in the back. Over the years, the dirt had been built up. The entire Teresina has been built up over the years, and also down into that east alleyway. And so now that we've removed the block wall that was stuck in there, the fencing that was there, the gutter, we had a gutter which was protecting the center part of the building, but it was dumping right on that corner. And it was draining away, but it's water against the building. So I can see a crack that's opened up, not humongously, and I can see the adobe. And so that little area concerns me a little bit, not tremendously, but a little bit. Other than that, the building really was in good shape. There's no dry rot. The floors are solid. Yes, there's some settling and whatnot, but the floors are real solid. Even where the roof leak, the water damage was just at the canale and seeping back. All the structure all the way back, probably from 10 feet on those corners, maybe a little bit more, is dry, clean, solid. We've been able to reinforce where the heating and cooling units are going to go up on the roof without any issue. The lumber, it was a well-constructed building. That's probably why it held together and that corner didn't fall. It really is a well-constructed building.
All right, no more questions.
No more questions, but I
Wait,
guess
no.
next.
well, not on that, but are you going to continue another update?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
General construction.
Sure, you don't have to wait.
Okay, I guess we'll start from the north. It's always the best. La Cienega is right now, phase 2, basically complete. We're waiting for our third round of funding. I believe it's going to come through. I don't know exactly how much it is, but the building inside is sheetrocked, taped, textured, framework for acoustic ceilings are in, plumbing's in, offices are framed and sheetrocked. We ready for new equipment, ceilings, heating and air conditioning, parking lot. So I know we have some funding coming. I think we're expecting, so hopefully it's as much as we need. It's kind of hard with these multi-year, multi-phased projects because you get a quote from the beginning and then it stretches out across 2 or 3 years. Prices change, our economy changes. We'll just leave that alone. But I know we're getting a substantial amount, and I think it's going to be real close. Facility build, what's good working with both facility build and Franken Construction, since they're state contractors, we can manipulate the scope to get us closer to being finished and the minor things at the end. When you have a set contract, this is what they're building and that's it. You can't manipulate things too much. So using the state contracts has helped us on both La Cienega and on the historic courthouse. Like I said, it looks really good. I hope we get a big chunk. I don't know exactly how much we're in line for, but I hope we get a bunch of money there. Detox center here in town, work is moving along well. The fire line is in place in the ground, tied into the water line on Weimer from the town of Taos. Inside, we're painted out. We are, all the windows have been replaced. The fire riser room was constructed and we were waiting, again, economy parts for the sprinkler system. One of the things that came into play and is delaying occupancy is The addition and the requirements by the state from the licensing require the lobby to have a restroom and other things. The other thing that wasn't apparent to everybody is that it was apparent that it's inpatient. They needed a food service. They need to be able to provide meals. So the kitchen hadn't been inspected in over a decade. It needed to be completely remodeled. That's another change order. So between the kitchen and the lobby, which could be part of phase 2, are phase 1 now. If you don't do the lobby right now, the kitchen, you can always bring in food. But when you go to remodel it, now you're closing off parts of the lobby and the patient areas. It's more efficient to do it right now. The lobby area, because of the requirements for triage and the way they intake patients, has to end up the way it is going to end up in phase 2. So we're actually going to construct the lobby to match phase 2 to be able to continue. Well, if you don't have a lobby, you can't take patients in, you can't give meds to the patients from the nurses station. So those two additions, which are not actual additions, they had to happen. It's more efficient to do them now. That's going to delay opening it up. Yeah, painting it, putting vinyl tile and the fire suppression, we could have done that and they could have opened. Then they'd have to close because we'd have to tear the lobby apart.
Mr.
That
Chair?
doesn't make sense.
Could I jump in with a couple questions based on just what you're saying right here, right now? For one thing, like the lobby requirement, that aren't there restrooms in the lobby? And what you're talking about, the lobby and the kitchen being connected to an inpatient facility, were we not aware of that from the beginning? Because the purpose of the building has been clear since the project started, correct?
Yeah, except initially there was not consulting with the state licensing board and the
Why was
vision. So
Okay.
it's not just a detox. I believe now we'll do triage and whatnot. And to meet these requirements, like right now, the plans are at the state for review before we even send them to the state health department, before we send it to construction industries for construction review. And so, yeah, initially the thought was the lobby was going to stay the way it was and we were going to add. Well, because of these additional requirements that our end user wants to develop as part of the detox facility, or that go hand in hand, it changed the way the front had to be.
Right, but I think my question gets to that. It's like that I guess I'm just surprised that these are considered additional because we've had the plan for this building to be used for this purpose from the start. And I mean, am I wrong? So that's
Jump in
Yeah.
and add to that. So I do understand the question and why you're asking that question. I think there's a concern out in the community that from day one, we have known what this was going to be. We've been planning and, even from the addition. So I guess now it almost seems like we're thinking of it for the very first
So
time.
initially, the lobby was adequate for what the county was informed was going to happen. As the project has progressed, the end user wants to provide more services. These services require different things.
I think that's where you're losing us, maybe, because I don't think that, at least, we talk about detox a lot, we hear about it a lot. I don't think that the function of the facility has
Ever changed. It's always been
changed,
up front.
right? That we haven't been adding on more and more services that should add on more and more construction or state certification requirements.
Yeah. I can't answer that. I wasn't involved in the initial who was going to do what. When we went in, I asked about the kitchen and they said, well, oh yeah, we do have to have meals. And I said, well, this kitchen is far from being EID compliant. It needs to be remodeled. And then, like I said, the end users or I believe they're asking for triage capability. I don't know what that means, but one of the requirements because of the state is a bathroom to take samples or whatever in the lobby.
But there is one in the lobby. I've used it, right?
And so those requirements may not, we can't leave the lobby won't function the way is required for those services.
I think I'm just kind of lost with.
Right, well, Chair, if I may, well, I think you did answer in that you weren't part of the original conversation.
Discussions, yeah, no,
discussions.
I can't speak to that.
Right.
I'm at, what do you need? We'll take care of it. But I wasn't involved in the initial scopes of work or that. I get a set of plans and this is what we're going to do.
Brent, may I, is something changed or can you kind of, or maybe Chris?
I don't know the answer to the question. All I know is we're supposed to be building a detox that we're going to lease. We did have to add on to the kitchen. That is a correct statement because it was just more of a warming kitchen before. I don't know why state allowed that in the past, but yeah, we do have to fix up the kitchen. And this first phase is to get the building to be able to be occupied in the near future. And then with the remaining funds to construct an addition to the building. So as far as I know, we're building a detox building.
Members of the commission, my understanding is through the process, there's been ongoing interaction with the architect, the prospective user coming in, talking about not only what they need in the first phase, but also what they like to have in the second phase. Things like a triage, although it sounds like a different word and different from detox, it's very much related. So I think there's been advice from experts in the area that triage would be something that would very much complement what we're trying to accomplish here. Detox is a service, and this is not my area of expertise. We're helping folks when they're ready for that type of treatment to get off so that we can get them on to the next steps. But when we have individuals who are in crisis mode and we don't want to send them to the jail because that's not what they need. Right now, the best practice, as I'm understanding this conversation, is a triage where they can be taken to this location and get properly tested, see if this is the right accommodation or where they need to go. And from a financial standpoint, it actually has a higher pay rate, so it helps out from a business standpoint. So I think we're listening to my understanding, we're listening to the prospective customer or user of the facility of where they want to be initially, where they want to be in the long term. And so there's these other requirements that we're looking to accommodate. When we do that, then we start to have to comply with what configuration that we need. And I think what Richard's trying to accomplish here is to save funding, because if we don't take care of it during phase one, then it's going to renovation and that whole aspect is going to cost us more money. So I think he's looking at the cost. If we don't do it now, we're going to have to end up paying a lot more money to do that type of construction.
Okay, and Mr. Chair, thank you. And thank you, Chris. I think what I'm hearing you say that there was something additional that came along that necessitated some changes, which is the triage function, that wasn't part of the plan from the beginning. Is that fair?
I believe that's fair.
Okay.
That it wasn't a part, and I'll take responsibility for this because my familiarity, again, I'm not directly involved in this, but I've supported this in Rio Arriba County where I was from, and I understood the benefit of a triage component to a detox. It's a critical service that can be provided. Not only is it good for our needs, but it's also, again, it brings in more cash to the system, which allows us to make sure that we're sustainable.
Right. And Commissioner Brush, I think, you've stated it very, very well. There's something that's changed. And we were under the impression that we're going off of this conversation has been had back in the day, and we knew exactly where we were headed. So I think that's where that.
And I don't know that this is a dramatic change. I think again, not my area of expertise, but triage complements the entire system. There's a system, ongoing service from, when somebody's in need to get into being healthy again. And a triage component would be a very healthy component to that continuum of service.
And Mr. Chair and Chris, I don't think anyone's questioning that it makes sense as part of the overall service. I think that what you're seeing is just us being a little surprised that there are new and added layers to the project that we've all been like chomping at the bit to see pushed over the finish line. I think that's it.
That's
We're not
it.
questioning that this is necessary and good in terms of what's happening there. I think that, we're just impatient to see things wrapped up and not more steps and more hurdles added on to the project. That's all.
And my last, Commissioner Brush, not so much something new. This isn't dramatically new. I think the difference here is a decision was made instead of paying for this cost in phase 2, where we're expecting to pay it. We understood that it's going to cost us a lot less and be more efficient to the project if we move that cost to phase 1.
Okay, and then I guess it was just the way we were hearing the presentation of this. So this was planned. We're just moving where we're doing it and how we're paying for it. I think we're
Predominantly,
just a little confusing to us.
Predominantly, it was a decision to be more efficient and save costs, because once again, we're worried about the cost of phase 2. Is we're saying that we're going to bring our costs down if we bring that work to phase 1 and get it done, and then it'll be less disruptive to the operations of phase 1.
Totally understand, but how does that, the timeline, how does that change the timeline? Because it's all worked in, it's just moving it, having it happen in phase 1 versus phase 2.
So realistically, if we weren't doing the kitchen and we just dressed up the lobby, we would probably be done end of July, maybe mid-August, ready for final inspection and occupancy. The fire suppression has been time-consuming because of the process of drawings, approval of drawings, approval from the town to get the water hookups, just all the bureaucracy. But so it's in place, waiting for some parts. It could be inspected. The lobby is open and ready, could just take furniture and be a lobby. The minute we start to do what's needed for phase 2, we're closing the lobby because we have to put in a new bathroom, new doors, all kinds of stuff. That just doesn't make sense. You've just increased your construction costs in that area.
If you had just stuck with the plans originally, it would have been done when?
If we didn't do phase 1, if we didn't do phase 2, if we did phase 1 only, it would probably be July. Kitchens take time and are expensive. And now we're still looking at July. And that was because people thought, it's like nobody said anything about having to have a functioning kitchen. There was a kitchen there. It's a kitchen. It's not a code compliant. EID will not approve what was there.
Yeah, I understand all the logic and it all makes sense. Just
So
making
we're still looking at July, August. Building is done. We're getting the things together for the kitchen. We have to approve the change order because it's going to be over $30,000. That has to come to you. We get to bring it to you once or twice a month. Then the contract signed, and then we do the work.
But I think what we heard.
Also, I know, Richard or Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, there's been meetings with the tenant, and the architect and our consultant, and has there been 1 or 2 or more meetings with the 3 parties that are, I think you were at all those meetings.
Yeah, our consultant, our architect, and usually our prospective tenant is usually on. We do project meetings bi-weekly. We'll be having one tomorrow on the site. So there's been the continuing communication. The drawings for phase 2 and the alterations of the lobby, phase 1, are at the state for review. They review them and make any notations before we send them to Construction Industries Division for permitting, or our contractor for pricing. So they have to say, similar to a historic building that we send to SHPO, this one goes to, I guess, the Department of Health and Human Services, and they review it, review the drawings, make any notations, and then we can move forward with pricing and construction. Any more questions on detox? Okay. Penasco has been stutter steps, trying to accommodate the needs of the community and the space requirements of construction. So we've been delayed a few weeks. We're fenced off. We've got a tentative schedule for some events. And so we've working with our contractor. They're going to do 410s. Most of the events are always on Fridays, Saturdays, graduations, weddings, funerals, or whenever funerals are. They are willing to accommodate it as much as possible. Initially, the fence is fairly out. It's against the front door. That's because we're going to do the digging. Once all the excavation is done, we can probably pull it back a few feet and keep it back. In the meantime, they're going to keep us abreast of when they have weekend activities, and the Thursday on the final day of work, our contractor will pull the fences back as far as they can because they're temporary fences, are not embedded in the ground. And so equipment's been, excavators on site, screening equipment's going to come up. Mr. Madrid and I went up there. Facility's going to go up and take our brush hog and mow down an area that's just alfalfa, can be temporary parking for right now, clean up along the fence lines. And like I said, just try and be as good a neighbor as we can while we're doing the construction, but we're finally going to get underway. Hopefully that's a much simpler building. All the submittals other than millwork and cabinet colors, which are on my desk that I'll pick out this week, have been approved. And it's a fairly short, it's a small building. I feel confident that we'll be done by the end of the year without any issue. Departments of Veterans Cemetery, paperwork is at the state. Hopefully they'll adopt it by the end of this month. And that's it. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Richard, anything new on the sheriff's office?
I'm not involved in that one, Commissioner.
Yeah, we actually yesterday we received the pricing regarding the sheriff's office from a CES contractor. I have either today or tomorrow, I'll meet with Gilberto on that project, and probably either, I don't know if we'll be able to have a contract for the June 10th, 17th meeting, or it'll be the July 1st meeting. We'll have a contract for that for the commission to approve.
I did have another general construction question. We don't have Richard in here anymore, but I was looking for an update, as usual, on the Arroyo Hondo Community Center bathroom.
So I could tell you that there's no update on that. I don't think they've worked on, and we don't know, have the funding for that is in next year's budget, because I made sure it was in next year's budget.
Thank you for that. I mean, and I was thinking earlier when other folks are asking for a new appliance or something, like they've been trying to get their kitchen redone for years as well. But the bathrooms are the critical first step, because the building without a bathroom, they're really hard to do anything there. So, but I appreciate you saying that the funding to finish that project is in next year's budget, which we're just, weeks away from. So I'm really hoping that we see some quick movement on that particular project, because they've been torn up for
get a contract
months.
going in this time frame. So when the new budget comes to fruition, we can get that in there.
Thank you.
Yes, just want to remind folks that the Taos Municipal Schools Summer Food Program has began, and it's Monday through Thursday, actually June 2nd through June 26th. And that is breakfast from 8 to 9 and lunch from 11 to 12. Then there's going to be a pause, although we're trying to figure out how to fill in that gap. The other time is scheduled time is, date is July 7th through July 25th. Location is Enos Garcia Elementary School. They're using the library loop for that, and ages 0 through 18, first come, first served basis. So I just want to let folks know that the municipal schools have, once again, are providing services. And then on another note, just want to give you all a heads up, just because I don't think the message has gone out to you yet, but the community is planning a meeting in town hall. I don't know what we want to call it, maybe county hall? I don't know. A county meeting in regards to the comprehensive plan. And just want to let you all know that you should expect a invite. Looks like it will be a little bit before June 16th. They really haven't given me an actual date, but it's community members coming together, probably from several of our districts, to address the comprehensive plan. So just FYI. That's all I've got. Thank you.
I want to thank you guys for the job you guys do. I know you always hear it from me that the county moves slow. It's taking me 3 years already to see, calm down, be patient. We have to remember that people live off of negativity. Anything that happens in the county, we're the worst people. Anything positive that came out on the paper this week, it's going to end quick. But just stay smart. You hear it from us day in, day out, but we're here to support you no matter what happens. So thank you guys.
I appreciate that, Chair Romero. I really do.
No more questions?
I'll just add on to what you said, Mr. Chair, that, yeah, we all get, we're here to be scrutinized publicly, right? But what you said is there is a lot of positive, there's a lot getting done, a lot of projects. People from other government entities walk through these doors and like, whew, you guys have a lot of projects. And we are moving them, maybe not as fast as our community members want or need, but we're moving them. So I appreciate your comments this morning. Thank you.
To add that the questions we ask obviously are being asked of us. And so, it's as representatives, we need to be able to answer those questions. But in no way are we saying that our staff is not doing the job, because we know very well that everyone's on it. It's just sometimes we don't know how to answer these questions when we're out and about, but that's kind of our job, right? So thank you.
Now we'll move on to a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn at 11:26 a.m.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brush, second by Commissioner Romero. Call for a vote.
Yes. Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Brush? Yes. Vice Chair Romero?
Thank you, everyone.